So it's not about just looking at the material side of prosperity, but it's about shifting our perspective, opening up our hearts, and aligning ourselves with the flow of life and all of the incredible potential that's out there and available to us. So far this month, we've looked at several different ideas around abundance, finances, prosperity, and so forth. We've looked at the power of our thoughts, what we believe we create in our lives. We've looked at the idea of a spiritual prototype or a mental equivalent. In other words, creating in our mind that ideal way of bringing prosperity into our life, or bringing a financial abundance, or having wealth in whatever way we think of wealth being. We've looked at that law of circulation, how when we give, we receive, and that it has to go both ways, otherwise we cut off the flow of that good. And of course, we've looked at gratitude and forgiveness, which are two powerful practices that are often tied to our financial prosperity. Last week, we talked about scarcity and looking at those fears and beliefs that we have that have limited our experience of prosperity in our life. And so this week, we're going to, again, talk about that abundant horizon, that idea that's out there that is available for everyone. And so today, we're going to go just a little bit further with that idea of some of these things that we've talked about here, and move into that idea of aligning ourselves with an abundant universe, with that abundance that is often seems like it's out there on the horizon waiting for us. Not right in our experience, but we can see it, we can feel it, but we can't quite get to it. Today we're going to talk about getting to it a little bit. So one of the most powerful things we use here at Centers for Spiritual Living are affirmations. So today's talk has a bunch of affirmations in it. I'm going to have you repeat them with me. And so the first one here today, repeat this with me. I live in an abundant universe. Say that again with some feeling. I live in an abundant universe. Begin to believe that. Begin to breathe into that. I live in an abundant universe. So we begin by affirming this truth. This truth is central to our new thought philosophy, our science of mind, where we actually believe that we are part of a never-ending supply of good in our lives. There is no end to it. There is infinite potential out there, and possibilities are always open to us. This is an idea that is central to our philosophy, that everything that's out there that's available and everything that is good can be mine right now. If I open myself up to it, if I clear away those limiting beliefs, if I actually believe it's possible, then I can experience that in my life. That if in there kind of causes problems sometimes. We kind of get stuck on that. It's like, oh, yeah, I'm saying this, I live in an abundant universe, but, I feel like my pockets are empty and I don't have enough. We have to begin to look at those beliefs that are holding us back from experiencing it. This idea that the universe is not just overflowing, but it is also intelligent and it is benevolent. It is intelligent. It knows exactly what we need when we need it. And it is benevolent. It is always giving itself forth. But are we open to receiving it? It is always giving. It is constantly giving. And are we cutting ourselves off from that flow? Are we not entering into that law of circulation where we're stopping our good from coming into us? What I want you to remember is whenever you feel that, whenever you feel like there's that something holding you back from experiencing your good, I want you to look to the horizon. I want you to look wherever you are, look to the horizon, and I can guarantee you are going to see evidence of abundance. You will see it in all of nature. You'll see it in the traffic in Las Vegas. There is abundance. Abundance exists all over our world. Look to the horizon. Because when we are looking and we are close here, we can't see that possibility. But if our focus is what's here in front of us, if I have a problem and that problem is my focus, I'm not seeing the abundance that's available. So one of my favorite teachers, Emma Curtis Hopkins, says to lift your eyes. Lift your eyes up, because when you lift your eyes up, you can no longer be in that situation anymore. So lift your eyes up and look to the horizon, because that's where we're going to find abundance. Doesn't mean that we can't bring it into our lives, but if we're stuck in a place, we need to look out, lift our eyes up, and look out to the horizon. There is a premise in our New Thought that actually comes from the ancient Hermetic teachings, 2nd century Hermetic teachings. It was later found on some tablets called the Emerald Tablets, written in Arabic, later translated to Latin. It's been around since at least 1800 years, this idea. As above, so below. What happens if you think of God as being above? What happens above also happens here for us. We happen to believe that God is all around, not above, but it's that idea of looking at this spiritual universe being this totally reciprocal place where whatever happens in spirit, which we call the macrocosm, happens in us individually, which we call the microcosm. Each one of us is a microcosm of the macrocosm that is spirit. We are each part of that universal intelligence. It shows up for us in us individually. Everything that we seek already exists in spirit. It's already there. It's already available to us. Our task is not to create more abundance. We don't have to manufacture anything. We don't have to make anything. We have to allow it to flow into us. Everything that we need is already available in spirit. Are we letting it come into our experience? Or are we relying on those hidden beliefs and old thought patterns that stop us from believing that everything Spirit has is already available to us? You know, in the Bible it says, Jesus is reported saying, all that the Father hath is mine. Everything that's Spirit is already available to us. If we're not experiencing it, that's our opportunity to look to see what the blocks are, to see where it is. So, again, our task is not to create abundance, but to allow it to flow through us. There is no limit to abundance. There's no limit to love. There's no limit to the flow of good. There is no limit in our lives other than what we impose on ourselves. So let's shift from trying to get something from the world and instead receive our divine inheritance. It's already being continuously offered to us. Open ourselves up to receive it. There is no cap on the blessings you can receive. They exist in an infinite supply, whatever that blessing is for your life. We thrive when we fully participate in this cycle of giving and receiving. Whether it's giving money, or whether it's giving love, or whether it's giving service, or whether it's giving candy on Thursday evening to the kids, whatever that is, we thrive when we are entered into that giving. But we also have to be willing to receive. We have to be willing to receive. That was one of the very first lessons I learned here at Centers for Spiritual Living. We were doing an event one night, and I was in the kitchen preparing food, which I have a tendency to prepare way too much food, just so we know that. Anyway, I'm in there, and I've been doing this for about 4 hours now, and my neck and shoulders are just knotted up. They're just so tight, and so I'm sitting here like this all the time I'm working. And this lady who was helping in the kitchen comes up and says, I'm a massage therapist. Can I rub your shoulders for you? And I'm like, oh, no, I'm fine. And my friend slugs me, which she was known to do. She slugs me on the arm and says, when are you going to learn to receive? When are you going to learn to receive? Just that simple thing of somebody offering to rub my shoulders when they know they're hurting because I'm grimacing all over the place. That was a lesson I took to heart in all different areas of my life, is opening up to receiving. How many of you find it hard to receive a compliment? Yeah. You know, we do something really nice for somebody and we say, oh, it was nothing. It was nothing. Or, you know, you're wearing something nice. Now, for me, it would never be a dress, but you're wearing something nice and somebody says, that is a beautiful dress you're wearing. I'm like, oh, this whole thing? We negate our blessings. We negate our ability to receive by all of these, I don't know, things that we've had throughout our childhood that said we shouldn't let people give to us. We need to be giving, not receiving. We should be the one who always serves everyone. This could be a woman thing only. I'm not real sure. I can only speak from my perspective, but I know women are trained as a young child, or at least I was, trained that we give, and if you don't really need to receive, that somebody else can do that. So that was a lesson I had to eliminate out of my experience. I had to release that. Giving and receiving are the same part of the divine flow. We can't do one without the other. If you just think about a garden hose, if you take a garden hose and you turn it on at the one end, the water's going to shoot out at the other end. But how many times do we crimp that hose together and stop that water from flowing? The source is already there. The water is wanting to come, but we haven't let it have a place to go. We haven't given it a place to shoot out from because we've crimped it off. How many times do we crimp off our flow of good into our lives by our limiting beliefs, by our habits, by our behaviors, by our whatever ideas that we have been indoctrinated with throughout our lives? Let that stuff go. Let that stuff go. We need to enter into that flow of giving and receiving. So prosperity thrives when we are fully in the cycle of giving and receiving. It doesn't if we cut either one of them off. If we stop giving, if we stop receiving, we hinder our prosperity. We hinder our prosperity in all areas of our lives. If we're not giving love, then we're not going to be receiving love. If we're not giving assistance to people, then more than likely we're not going to get it back ourselves. We need to be in that cycle, that law of circulation acting all the times in our lives. Each time that we choose abundance thinking over scarcity thinking, then we are freed from those chains, those fears, and then we move closer to that abundant horizon that's always available to us. Our actions in giving and receiving are often predicated by the fears and the beliefs that we've had throughout our lives. When are we going to let that go and allow ourselves to enter into that flow that is constantly wanting to move itself into expression? I love the phrase, I think it comes from probably one of the science fiction shows I like, but spirit abhors a vacant hole. It's always looking for some place to fill. And so if it can't fill it through you, it's going to go to somebody else and fill it through them. It is constantly looking for a place to flow itself into expression. So open ourselves up to that and allow that to be our experience. Allow ourselves to get rid of those limiting beliefs and get rid of those things that have blocked us throughout all of our lives to stop that flow from us. So here's another affirmation for that can help us with it. Read this with me. I release all thoughts of limitation. I am one with divine abundance, and I welcome it in all forms. I am one with divine abundance, and I welcome it. I embrace it. I want it in. I want to bring it into my life. And as I bring it into my life, I can't just hold on to it. I got to let it flow out too, because otherwise I stop that cycle. Bring it into my life, let it flow out from my life. This is a practice that we can do all the time with every situation. If I'm in any kind of a conflict of any sort, I can look at that. What am I giving right now in this moment? And what am I open to receiving? Because generally in a conflict, there's some place I've shut myself off. And so I can look at it in any situation whatsoever, even as simple as driving. If I'm in a conflict in the driving, am I letting people come in front of me when they need to get out into the street? Or am I hurrying up to get into the person in front of me so that nobody else can get in there? Well, what's going to happen to me? More than likely, I'm not going to be able to get over into the lane I need to because I have not entered into that flow of giving and receiving. Allow ourselves to let people in, and we can be let in ourselves, and just allow that flow to move constantly through us. All of this requires a great deal of something we call faith. We have to understand the nature of spirit, and that happens through our developed consciousness and the amount of faith we put into that universal intelligence, into the belief of it. When we have little experiences, it builds our faith. So if I move in driving in the traffic and I let somebody come in, and the next thing I know, I need to get into the other lane, and somebody stops back there and lets me in, that builds my faith in that law of circulation, that giving and receiving. Those little things help build the faith, and the more faith we have in it, the more open we are to experiencing that. Faith is active. It's a conscious alignment with abundance. We have to begin to understand that we do live in this abundant universe, that it is happening through us all the time. And this faith can be built in so many small ways. So right now we're doing this money magic, 31 days, 31 ways to bring prosperity into your life. You can still sign up for it if you'd like to. Kaylee and Kelly will help you back there. You'll get all the days, even though this is day 27. You will get all the days 1 through 26 as well. And I am putting this into a book form for next year. So anyway, today's day is day 27. And today our practice is what we call first fruits. So first fruits is a term from the Bible that it's actually mentioned in the Bible 9 times, because I looked that up this morning, just to make sure I knew that number. It's mentioned in the Old Testament 4 times and in the New Testament 5 times. Now, in the Old Testament, it's mentioned in those chapters, Exodus, Leviticus, Deuteronomy, that deal with the rules, all the rules on how to behave, all the rules on how we should be in the world. And in there, first fruits is only referred to as what we give to Spirit, what we can give to Spirit. So it's all the rules about our giving, all the things that we should give. And it refers to giving the best of, back then it was an agricultural society, so you gave the first fruits, the first things that you harvested, you gave to Spirit. So the first, if you had animals, you gave the first animals to Spirit. If you had grain, you gave the first bushel of grain to Spirit. You gave it to the priest in the temple, but that's a whole different thing. So Spirit doesn't need your fruits and grains, but the act of giving is necessary. However, in the New Testament, it gets totally turned around. In the New Testament, it's about Spirit giving to us. Now, I found this quite amazing because I only knew first fruits from the Old Testament version. So to find it, when I was doing my research this week, to find it in the New Testament in this form was quite amazing to me. It first appears in the book of Romans, written by the Apostle Paul. He says, we ourselves who have been given the first fruits of Spirit. We have been given the first fruits of Spirit, not the other way around. We've been given the first fruits of Spirit. In other words, the best that Spirit has to offer, we have been given. The best that Spirit has to impart upon us has already been given to us. Goes on to talk, he's talking about Christ here. And he doesn't refer to Christ so much as Jesus the man, but Christ the consciousness. Christ has indeed been raised from the dead, the first fruits of those who have fallen asleep. Christ is the first fruits of those who have fallen asleep. In other words, he's the first one of the many of us, the flock that's out there. He's the first fruit. He's that idea of what we call the way shower. We call Jesus being the example of how to live, not the exception, but he's the example of how to live in conscious union with Spirit. And so Paul here is calling him the first fruits. And then another example of it comes from the book of James. Spirit chose to give us birth through the word of truth, that we might be a kind of first fruits of all it created. And here again, we are the first fruits. We are the best that Spirit has to give. Can you imagine how your life can change if you believed you were the best thing that Spirit had to offer to the world? What an uplifting and powerful idea that is. We are the first fruits of Spirit. But again, we need to be in this idea of letting it flow in and out of us, giving and receiving constantly. Here's our affirmation for this. I am one with divine abundance. My life flows in harmony with the infinite prosperity of the universe. Let's say it again. I am one with divine abundance. My life flows in harmony with the infinite prosperity of the universe. As we can remember that truth, as we can remember that my life is constantly flowing in prosperity, if we can remember that every single time we feel lack, Every time we feel constricted, imagine how our life can change. Those feelings are going to come. It's just part of being in this material world. We're going to experience times when it feels like things have been a little constricted in my life. And every single time we experience that, whether it's about money or health or relationships or whatever it is, when we feel that least bit of constriction in ourselves, open ourselves up and remember that we are part of divine abundance. We are the very best that Spirit created. We are the first fruits of God. Imagine how our life would change when we can remember that. When we look at the horizon of our lives, when we look out there, we can let ourselves be filled with that image of abundance in whatever way it shows up. I said this, I think, a couple times this week. As I look out, I see an abundance of leaves right across the parking lot. More leaves than I could ever possibly count. So if I'm feeling constricted in here, and I look out through the window, I look at the horizon, I lift my eyes up, then all I can see is abundance. And that can open up a way for that imprisoned splendor to flow through. It can open up a way to allow ourselves to experience. It can open up a way for us to remember, as above, so below. Spirit is infinite, therefore we are infinite. Spirit is abundant, therefore we are abundant. We give Spirit first fruits. Spirit created us as first fruits. Imagine how our life would change if we can really begin to internalize that. So let our hearts and let our lives be filled with that vision that is not limited by our experiences. Look beyond what you've known. Look beyond what you've dreamed of. And allow infinite possibility, that exponential potential of Spirit to unfold within your life. This idea of abundance is an ever-evolving journey. And the key to it lies in having clarity about what's holding us back, having the courage to step out and give, having the courage to allow ourselves to receive, having faith and trust in the abundance of the universe. Let us, each one of us, stand in confidence, embrace our abundant horizon, and create the freedom of a life without ends, without limits. Create the freedom of a life without limits. It is available to us. It's already been given to us. Are we shutting it off, or are we open to receiving it? The choice is yours every single moment. Every single moment we have that opportunity to live in abundance or to constrict ourselves off and shut off that flow of the divine Spirit. It's always wanting to express. Are we open to it? Let's stand in confidence. Let's embrace our abundant horizons, and let's create a life without limits. I hope this week that you move forth with a deepened sense of abundance, equipped with all of these principles and practices that we've talked about all month. And I know that as you move forward, your horizons will continue to expand. Lift your eyes to see them. All right, let's take this into prayer. I invite our spiritual practitioners to stand and surround us, holding us in their consciousness throughout the week. We are blessed to have such beautiful beings. They spend 4 years or more in study to become a practitioner, and we are blessed to have them here with us. And so I just invite you to take in a nice breath, and as you do, let your chest open. Feel that expansiveness. Allow yourself to receive that flow of Spirit as we move into prayer. And so I know that right here and right now, there is only one power, one presence, one incredible, infinite love intelligence that has brought each one of us into expression, that has created us uniquely and perfectly just the way that we are. I know this one is infinite abundance. It is wisdom and clarity and possibility and potential. I know it is unconditional love and perfect peace. And I know that I am one with it. I know that the presence of the divine resides right at the heart of my being, that it is moving itself into manifestation through me at all times. And as I know this is true for me, I know this is true for everyone, for we are each that perfect emanation of a love so powerful it can do nothing but create, and create beautifully and miraculously, just the way that you are. And so knowing this truth, I know that each one of us is part of that integral flow of life, that giving and receiving of love, that giving and receiving of intelligence, of energy, of abundance, of power, of passion. It is who we are. We are the first fruits of Spirit, the greatest that it ever created. The perfection of the divine resides right inside of each one of us. Are we willing to receive it? Are we open to being that place where God shows up? Are we willing to recognize that the place on which we stand is holy ground? Because God is right there, right now, and always. How good it is to know this, how good it is to feel it, how good it is to see it happening in this community and beyond. And I just simply release this word into that law, into that creative power and presence that knows no limits. I let it go and I let it be. And together we say, and so it is.